Hey, a beautiful friend. Welcome to Fearless and Worthy Woman, Walking Boldly in Your Calling. I'm your host, Alexandria Daugherty, and today's episode is a little different. I am not teaching or I am not making this a part of a series. This one is just me sharing my heart and the why behind all of this. Why I do what I do, why this podcast exists. Because before I ever created programs or wrote content or pressed record, this started with a story. Mine. There are parts of my story that I don't really talk about often. And it's not because I'm hiding them, but because they have taken a lot of work and a lot of time to understand. And if I'm honest, I have carried a lot of responsibility for other people's peace. For most of my life, I really thought that it was my job to hold everything together and to make sure everyone else was okay, even when I wasn't. See, I got really good at looking steady and strong on the outside, but inside I was completely falling apart. And I think that's where a lot of my strength came from. Not that kind that is celebrated or praised, but instead that kind that is built in those quiet moments, the kind that is built behind closed doors. My strength did not come from always being okay. It came from learning how to fall apart with God and still trust that He was going to put me back together. And even now, I still have moments where I question if I'm enough, if I am enough, especially to lead this work. I know the truth, but those old thoughts still sneak in sometimes. What I've learned, though, is that confidence doesn't mean that those thoughts are just going to disappear. Instead, it means that I move forward despite what they sound like, knowing that God did not ask me to be perfect. He's just asking me to step in alignment with what His will is for me. The older I get, the more I crave rest, not the kind that comes from just checking out, but real rest, like that peace. I love what I do. I love that I get to be in this space and hopefully encourage others and add value. But what my heart really longs for is quiet, to just sit with my boys and with my husband and to not really be needed for a little while, but instead just to be present and to just be. And I have learned, and I'm still learning, that peace is not found in doing more, but instead it is found in letting God carry the things that I still sometimes try to hold on to, but it's not mine to hold. And ladies, my faith has not always looked strong either. There have definitely been seasons where I have wondered if God was even listening to me or if He was hearing my prayers. There were times where I knew I needed to be obedient, but that obedience felt so lonely and so dark. And I had so many more questions than I did answers. But with that came, in those quiet moments and those uncertain places, I learned, and I again continue to learn what that trust actually means. It's not the kind that requires proof, but instead it says, even here, you are still good. You are okay. There is this version of me I still carry gently inside. That girl who stayed quiet, who played small, who wanted so badly to be accepted by others that she forgot how to be herself. I've made peace with her, but she is also the reason I show up and that I do what I do. Because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. I know how it feels to question your worth or to wonder if you ever truly matter or if you really truly matter. And I don't ever want another woman to feel that way and to think that is where her story ends. The truth is, I care so deeply and probably way more than I should most of the time. I feel and carry people's pain and their story in my heart long after our conversations end. And it's not something that I've ever been able to turn off. And honestly, I don't think I'm supposed to. I really think it is how and who God made me to be. But even now, I'm still learning how to let Him lead my ambition. I have these big dreams and these big visions, but I also know what happens when I try to force them and I try to do it my way. So instead, I'm learning to slow down, to listen, and to trust that those doors are going to open when they're meant to. And it's going to be the right doors. Ladies, I am not someone who has it all figured out, not even close. But I am someone who gets up and prays and keeps showing up even when life is messy, even when life is hard and when it's crazy and chaotic. That's what faith looks like for me. I am not leading from some mountaintop. I am leading from the climb and as I learn as I go. And maybe that's why I care so much about helping women stop striving for perfection and start trusting God with the journey and with the process. Because here I am still learning to do the same. There's one verse that's always felt like I'm standing in front of a mirror for the kind of woman that God is shaping me to be. And that is Proverbs 31:25. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. That verse is not about being perfect. It is not about having it all together. It is about the kind of strength that comes from surrender. The kind you build when you've walked through things that could have broken you, but instead, they have made you softer and stronger at the same time. When I read those words, I don't really picture a woman who never struggles. Instead, I picture a woman who has learned to trust God with the parts of her story that she doesn't even understand yet. A woman who has learned that true dignity comes from peace and not from trying to perform. To me, laughing without fear of the future, that doesn't mean ignoring what's hard, but instead it means knowing who holds it even when it is hard. It's looking at the unknown and saying, I don't have to know what's next because I know who goes with me. That is the woman I want to be. And that's the heart behind everything I create here. Helping other women remember that strength is not about never falling apart. It's about knowing where to turn when you do. So today, your faith step of the day, it's a bonus one for this week. I want to invite you into reflection. This is not about goals. This is not about plans. This is not about checklists. So go ahead and put those ones away from me for today. But this is your why. I encourage you to ask yourself, what has God walked me through that might be the very thing He wants to use to help others? You can write it down. You can say it out loud. You could pray over it. But your story, even the hard parts of your story, hold some kind of purpose. And I promise you, God does not waste that climb. Ladies, thank you for letting me share my heart today. This podcast, this community, it is built from real stories and from imperfect faith. My prayer is that every time you listen, you feel a little more seen, a little more understood, and a lot more reminded that your story matters and that you matter. If this spoke to your heart, share it with a friend who needs it, and make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss your faith step of the day. And before you go, grab your free Truth Exchange worksheet. It is in the description. Until next time, remember, you are worthy. You are so loved, and you are called, empowering you always.